Okay, guys. So we are sorry that we interrupt the conversation that we have with Andy because we have some new friends, some new guests. They're coming from Bahamas, and I'm gonna allow them to introduce themselves. Your name is well. You have your phone.
Justin Moultrie.
I'm Reagan Kemp.
I'm Eddie on Wims. Yeah.
You all three come from Bahamas.
Yeah, we're from Nassau, Bahamas.
Hmm?
Correct. We're from Nassau, Bahamas. Yeah.
Okay. Um, well, we just basically invite you guys because we met you this evening here in the gallery, and we mentioned that we're gonna have a podcast tonight, which is this one, and we just basically want to, share with the audience and with people a little bit about the artists, what you guys do, what's your style, um, if you are active painting or if you sell through galleries or if you are freelance. It's good to share. The podcast is about to talk about art and share with people um, all the knowledge that we have as an artist. Sorry, thank you. And at some point, get to people know about you as a person, and also how you talk about your art is really important for people to understand your work. So, what do you willing to start with? Like, what kind of style do you do? Can you explain, guys, one by one, what your style, what's your techniques that you use, and all these questions that I mentioned before, what you doing right now as an artist?
How would I describe my style? I would say probably maybe contemporary. I like to mix a lot of different things. I like symbolisms. I like color. I like foliage. I use a lot of landscape of the things like I see every day. And just to express the average Bahamian living and like things that we deal with and things how we communicate with each other. So I use my art to try to communicate
And connect
with.
with people.
Yes.
Nice.
Can you give us an example of what type of, because you talked about Bahamian lifestyle, so what is an example of that you show? And you also mentioned communication, so yeah, in what specifically is unique to the Bahamas in communication and in lifestyle? Yeah.
Well, something that I'm currently finding a lot of interest in is like we have a lot of people who like the dirt bikes. So I use those in the symbolism. I use the sun as means to describe like consciousness. Sometimes I like paint fire over people's heads, just like things that we experience. I know
Yeah.
in the Bahamas we have a culture of like tourism and paradise, and I also try to catch things what I see more in like the everyday life.
The reality, the
Yes.
some.
Yeah, that it's so hot. You mean?
Is
Is that like that's why it's like fire?
I'm more so. I think like sometimes even like things what we're going through, like the heat, as in like you could be sometimes like angry, you could be hot headed, you can be like frustrated. Like I use the sun, I use like flames to express like those, but like the sun to express peace, like a form of like shining light, like a halo.
Okay, so there's like balance in your work in a way. So there's like
Yes.
the anger and the heat, like how dirt is it in the dirt bike as well?
I use the, I kind of like use that as like kind of like a cowboy. Like they are the modern day cowboys to us. Like you see them, everybody gets together. Like everyone is a community.
Cool.
So
Okay.
like to see some on the road, you might see them like hopping and doing like all of the different tricks in the middle of the road. And I just started to like use that as like something to describe freedom,
Okay. Cool.
because you know you on the open road, you get to control like
Yeah.
And it's dangerous as well. Like there's like
Okay.
one up in the air, there's often in the middle of the road, like traffic. It's pretty chaotic, but
Yes.
it's also like a form of liberation for them, I think.
Yeah, okay, so they also find, like, because in the different movements or the tricks that they do, it's almost like a creative expression as well.
yes.
Yeah, and then you guys capture that in the art.
Yes.
And in like your lifestyle, like you said.
Yes.
You were nodding your head about dirt bike. Like, do you also do dirt biking, or?
No.
No,
Okay,
I'm terrified of the thought of that. But I love seeing it. It's
Yeah.
very cool to see them just like zipping past and like these very colorful custom bikes. And it's like super excited about it. So I think it's a beautiful part of the culture to capture because we got, I think, typically what you would expect from, I guess, more traditional Bahamian art sense, you wouldn't see like a whole lot of the culture being accurately represented in terms of like the everyday people just in the streets like living and existing. You'd see more of like the paradisical aspects of it, but I think it's really important for like people like Justin to capture things that are like really happening.
Oh, that's so cool. So, is your work, Sarah? So your name is Justin, and your name is
Reagan.
Reagan. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I was trying to listen to everyone's names. So Justin, Reagan, and
Edion.
Edion. Edion. Okay, Justin, Reagan, and Edion. Reagan, is your work like also in the same genre of like showing communication, or is it in a different realm? Yeah.
How would I describe my work? I think my work is a lot more personal, but I think the personal experiences translate on like a larger level because I am a Bahamian living in the Bahamas, like with a lot of these same frustrations and
Okay.
you know the things that make us happy, the things that make us like upset, they're all kind of the same. So when I do a lot of self-portraiture, that's why I'd say it's like personal. A lot of it is based
That's
around
amazing.
yeah, like identity, family, things like that. But I think because of the nature of the work, it tends to translate to I guess a larger audience.
I'm curious because you said identity, right? Like, what components do you think make up identity for you? Like, because I think they're different for all of us. Like, what are components that make up identity for you? For some people, it's like their religion is a really big part of their identity. It might be their gender, right? Like, it might be like because I'm a female, so like there are certain parts of the cultural or gender expectations of my family and Asian culture. It's so different from like being in the Caribbean as well, and maybe it's different for men as well. What are gender expectations? So what are aspects of identity that that you are capturing in your art? Yeah.
I think that's a great question. Thank you. But gender is definitely a part of it. I think my cultural identity as well because I have a Bahamian dad but a Guyanese mom, and I was raised by my mom's side of the family, so I think it's just a kind of like dissonance existing or like growing up as like a Bahamian kid but being raised by Guyanese people, like the type of food they eat, the things that they did. Like my granddad had a cutlass in my hand when I was 7. And I find that like a lot of Bahamian women don't have like.
Can you say that again?
I said I would there you go. I think the cutlass is a Caribbean term, but I think machete is probably more widespread. So he had me
Okay.
outside with a machete as like a little kid.
So you
Okay.
So
like
you-
a punishment.
No, like
Oh,
just
okay.
caring for the yard, like teaching me how to, take care of things, grow things. Like it was very
Oh, wow.
It was very, very sweet. But I know like a lot of Bahamian women don't have that same experience. So it's kind of like this dip in and out of the two cultures that my work ends up becoming.
I want to ask you, so, well, for you two guys, like, so what you're doing now is like paint reality in a raw way. That's what you do, like that. And you think the other question is like the backgrounds that you guys have individually affect or basically direct the art that you want to do.
Yes.
So it's I believe so that too because I feel the same way. Thinking our backgrounds is something really important in order when we have to think about what we should paint in a painting. It's like you start getting motivated by those things that you know or you feel or you just in your mind or your memory. And because when we grow, and I think everything's affect us because
Yeah.
once we're getting older, we get to know us better. Like we get to understand what to make us cry, laugh,
Yeah.
make you feel sad or happy, and you know how to use this case after and to create your art, and in order to make it, like a flex or I mean blend together to present the perspective or the message that you want to put into the canvas
sure.
Yeah.
to make you express in a way that you want people to perceive you or just share your feelings.
Yes.
Emotion.
Exactly.
Important.
What about you,
Edion.
Edion?
So my practice, so my paintings, the way I would describe my paintings is that I paint with black. That's with the figures. It isn't in grayscale. I would describe it as black. But I my work is based on a lot of Gothic art that was done way back. Like so, like the portraits of Jesus and stuff like that. I would look at those as references. I also delved into the idea of like Leonardo da Vinci and how he went about doing his work. So I'm a self-taught artist, so a lot of things I was just like, let me see how I could get this and try put it into my work. So my work doesn't focus on the environment, even though I have been experimenting with that recently. It doesn't focus on that. I try to focus on the individual. I try to give the people in my work some sort of presence, or try to have them, how to say it? Yeah, give them a type of atmosphere. So I would clothe them a certain way, or I would paint them with certain facial expressions and stuff like that. So that's what I try to do in my work. Yeah.
I think learning through art heal people, heal every human that trying to put their feelings into the canvas. Not only he's letting all the pain out, but
Yes.
healing at the same time
Yeah.
because you let it away, let it go.
So therapeutic.
And at the same time, I help other people because they resonate and connect
Yes,
with that
for
piece of
sure.
art. So I think it's really important in that sense. I always say like paint with your heart, with your feelings.
Yes.
It's really important to create a piece of
Really
art that
agree with
connects
that.
with people.
For sure.
Even like when I first started art, I started art as a healing process for myself. It was out of school, and everyone goes through their personal issues and whatnot. So me starting creating stuff, that was a process. It began as a process of me trying to remove stuff from myself that I couldn't verbalize. So what you said just now, like, it's really a healing process for a lot of people. Yeah. And then it just ended up being something that I became passionate about. Yeah.
I can even see as a gallerist here. I'm an artist
Right.
myself, but as a gallerist, I just see, for example, when a guy, for the first time, that one artist came here to the gallery and then see the process of his paintings during, I don't know their feelings when they come in, when they go home, I don't know what's happening in there, and I just know what is happening here in the gallery. But at the same time, I can see when he come in like upset or, happy or chill, and just because I can see the way that he paints, it can be really aggressive with, dirty colors or dark colors, or he can just be explosive or euphoric, or just, happy with it, pink colors, and that's the way he deals with his emotions, He just decide come here and paint. I feel like I want to paint, and he start doing all his, his
Yeah.
mess, and at the end he feels good. But he let all these emotions,
Yeah.
flow out.
That's awesome. I like everyone's talking about how you connect with art. I guess I want to ask either of you guys can answer, like, how do you think that audiences connect with your art? I guess, how do you think that they receive your art, and what emotions or feelings, maybe even what ideas do you think that they get from the artworks that you present? And also, I would say, like, how do you want your audience to? Do you think that that is the same intended thing? Because, like, sometimes, like for me, when I paint, my intention is to get my audience to to feel or evoke a type of positive feeling. But then as I ask certain people, they say, oh no, I don't really feel positive, but I feel kind of like, whoa, like like, you know, and it is kind of like shocking, but it's not a positive feeling. It's just more like, oh, it can look like that, okay.
Yes.
You know, like they kind of get a, like they learn something from it or something like
Yes.
that. It's not like a positiveness, but for me it's like, I just want you to feel happy.
Or maybe
But yeah.
sometimes it just take a time for people to understand a piece of art.
Yeah.
You know, like you just can have a look like, you know, really fast, and then, oh yeah, it's just it's this.
Yes.
But then, like if they start looking at it like closely or more time, okay, understand this, or this and that.
Yes.
Yeah, so
It's really important.
connection.
Yes,
Yes.
it's really important. I think. Well, if you paint with, you know, trying to put some meanings or feelings into this, and you know, people always gonna ask, or you know, the viewer is gonna ask, like, what is about, or a collector. Okay, before I purchase this painting, I want to know what it's about. What is the meaning behind this? And I think that's a part that, you know, in the industry of art has been losing that in that sense, because everything is just, you know, a business,
Yes.
and they don't give the opportunity to the artist express himself or talk about his piece by himself,
Yes.
an exhibition or something. They just want everything like, okay, just print it there, whatever, and it's never gonna be the same, because every answer that you give to this piece can be different, and at the same time meaning the same thing.
Yes.
Always, you know.
Yeah.
And then it's just the way how you, you know, tell about your artwork to this person, that he will, you know, just keep all those words into his chest. He wouldn't start like loving
Take
it
the
more.
message.
You know,
Yes.
he loved it already, but when he start hearing all this, it's like,
Yes.
that's what I feel like, and I like this painting now.
But yeah, like how do you guys want your audience to connect with your art? Like how do you guys want your audience to connect with your art? Anyone want to share?
You should actually, so with me personally, I would say, so I'll explain like how people have connected with it. So people use, because I use black figures and they're so black, and I try to highlight details in their face or stuff, in like certain parts of their body. People would say it really gives it a Madonna effect. They said that it's like a void and then like drawn into it because of like darkness. And I like madness on my painting and my works.
Okay.
So they said it becomes a void or something like that. And then there were also times when people saw my work and what they felt was the opposite of what I was trying to portray, but I understand it because they would be like, oh, this seems so spiritual, this seems so calming and what's not.
Wow, cool.
But it makes sense because if I look at like what I was trying, if I look at like the style I was using or how I position people and stuff like that, I understand it. So I would say like I appreciate the way people see my work. I really appreciate like the views they see because it also gives me a new perspective on how I could see
for
the work,
sure.
and also like allows me to add sometimes like how I could perceive my future work. If it makes any sense. Like,
Oh, I see
Yeah.
that. Okay,
That
so
makes
your
sense.
audience actually, like, how they perceive your work actually helps you develop your own
I-
style next, maybe.
Yeah, sometimes,
Like, it
yeah.
actually impacts your growth as an
Right.
artist, because we're not just static,
And-
like, as
and,
an
like,
artist, we do.
right, and like it gives like new topics that I could think about for myself. And
I want to ask you
So
something.
yeah, no problem.
Do you do incorporating your paintings a self-portrait of you, like your person?
No, they're not self-portraits actually.
Yeah.
They aren't, but
I think
because
they all somehow end up looking a little bit like
oh,
you.
sorry. So they're not self-portraits, but like they said, like they sometimes end up looking like me. Like it wouldn't be intentional. I'll be painting, and then I'll end up putting my nose and my mouth, and then sometimes the eyes look just like mine.
That happens to me all the time. Like
Yeah.
I can't avoid it. Like
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily thinking that this character is gonna look like me, but at some
Yes.
point, people, oh, that's you. I can see your eye, I can see your mustache. I can
Yeah.
It
see.
happens to Justin a lot as well. Like,
Yeah.
that's you. You were trying
Yeah.
to fit.
It's either me or like a family member
Yeah.
or something. But I was told by our artists before that we all paint through like a self-reflection. So it's everything is a self-portrait. when
I,
you like
actually,
think of
yeah,
it?
like I at some point, like, because we are telling our life at some point, is sometimes we have to be the representation there
Yes.
to make understand the viewer how we feel,
Yes.
because for some of the us, we are just telling our journey.
Yes.
You know, it's like our
Ourselves.
diary. You know?
Yeah.
That's such a good point. I feel that way because I just recently, after episode 2 came out and where I was being interviewed, I saw a painting that I did of like just these figures, these sugar skulls,
Right.
and then one in the middle. And then as I was watching it, I initially did not think that I was drawing myself. And then I looked at the angle and it was my jaw and my ear was exactly the same. It went, I drew myself. What the? Yeah, it was just so weird. So you guys, that makes so much sense. That yeah, like art is kind of a self-reflection.
Right.
Yes.
And yeah, getting people to see your perspective, but also yeah, your journey. So
Yes.
Yeah.
again, so you do self-portraiture, right? You were talking
Yeah, I
about
just
that
skip all of
right
that and go straight to
Yeah.
painting myself anyway. But yeah, I do a lot of self-portraiture. I think the same thing Ariane was saying, essentially, when I started, I think I've been making, not paintings for a long time, but interested in like creativity for a long time. So I started like writing at first, then it was fashion, then it was like photography and film, and I worked in that industry for a bit. And then during the pandemic is actually when I started painting, because I was like, I need like a bit more freedom in the medium to kind of be able to play around and work, and painting just felt like home in that sense. So
That's kind of like what happened to me too. That during pandemic, I start painting my own pieces. So it's not that I was not painting here, but I was just doing commissions. A lot of
Yeah.
commissions.
Right.
And well, I had to pay bills and I had to survive, so I had to accept anything. But doing my own artwork, I just started during the pandemic.
Yes.
That's when I started showcasing my artwork, and people start like, oh, I love
Yeah.
this. So we have to say that pandemic was great for
It
us
actually
in that
did.
sense, at least.
it
Yeah.
definitely did.
Yeah, I agree.
So another question before is like, you guys like are selling your artwork in Bahamas, like you
Yes.
are displaying
Yeah.
your work in galleries.
Right. So
So we actually work in this really cool hybrid art space. It used to be an ice factory. It's actually called ICE. It's abbreviated. It's the incubator for collaborative expression. But it used to be, yeah, it used to be an ice warehouse, and now it's about one, two, four,
7.
four art studios, each of them with about 2-3 artists in them, and then a gallery space.
Yes.
And yeah, so it's just like a little compound, like a garden outside type of thing.
Sounds like
And
such a cool setup.
It is. It's
Okay.
super cool.
Do you
And-
all work there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Okay, and then that's how you all met?
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I
Well, they met
actually
first.
I know
Yes.
him. I know him for
Okay.
about.
I
I met him 2018, and then
Yes.
I didn't see him again until we were in that
Yes.
space again.
They both are doing a residency there, so it is like a residency space as well. So we have about 8 multidisciplinary artists. We have like a film photographer in there. We have a ceramic studio. Like there's just like a lot
Yeah.
going on in there, and yeah. So since the gallery space is there, I do a lot of curatorial work. So I run the gallery space there, and I kind of do other stuff in other BAME and galleries, but mostly there.
Okay.
And
You
so-
curate
and-
some of the work too?
Mhm.
Awesome. I guess you guys have that in common. Like you also curate work for the gallery, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I enjoy it too. You know, like
Yeah.
curating the art is really nice. I mean, I think you must feel the same passion about like, oh wow, I'm so fan of all these artists. You know, like because passionate about what they do, and I can
Yes.
understand. So it's kind of cool. I start finding since I opened the gallery and being a galleries that I love. I can easily be into this like forever. you know,
Yes.
Yeah.
Into art. It's really cool.
100%. Curation is really special though. Like it's very personal. Like I think it's beautiful to come into somebody else's practice and then try and
Basically, you
understand.
create your own piece of art. I mean, your own
Yeah.
collection,
Yeah.
like all your thoughts. You know,
Yeah,
you
I-
can put it all together because you're using all this creativity from all
Mhm.
these
Yeah.
artists.
From your art
It
practice.
makes it
Yeah.
shape. class together. So it takes courage to do that.
Yes.
Because you can
Yeah.
fail too, but if you feel the art painting, you just notice the right one.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what makes up a nice space? What draws people into the space you've got? Yeah. Have you curated the works of any of your of Justin or Enion or yourself as well?
Yeah, I've been putting them to work.
Yeah.
We've had a good couple of moments to collaborate in that way, and I see it happening again in the future as well. So I love
Okay.
working with them.
I mean, give me an example. Like, give us an example of like your collaboration. Like, in what? Yeah.
I think I trust Reagan the most to handle my work.
That's awesome.
And
Okay.
just in the fact of knowing that she knows me personally and she can like engage with my work, where the conversation when other people engage with it is the way I would want to express it versus like how I even sometimes it would be how I think I want to see it versus how she can see it, and it'll speak so much better than just
It's really challenging to collaborate with artists. It can be really hard to actually connect with some others.
Right.
But I do this like for a long time, doing a lot of collabs.
Right.
Even if at the beginning people were like, "Oh no, I don't do collabs," or I don't buy this because it's not.
Right.
I don't know. I think they are more like they stay like in a vintage style of just having particular art from particular artists, and they don't give a chance to see all the arts. Or what if you just come together with an artist and create a piece that it won't exist just because of that
Right.
collaboration exists there and it's unique. Nobody because you cannot do it by yourself, and I cannot do it by myself. Your emotions that you put there is in your only you have this, and this is the way that I personally collaborate with most of the artists, based on dynamics and that we can do, but with intention to everyone has their own expression without me having to be on top of you saying, oh, do this, or you on top of me saying you should paint like this way.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that after a while of we connecting, talking,
Right.
hanging out, this and that, at some point with who are perfect to create a piece of art together.
Right.
You don't have to speak that much, or
Nope.
put the topic in the table just to. No, we just go and paint.
Have you guys collaborated?
Yeah, me and him. Yeah, so we recently collaborated on a piece, and we've been working in the same studio for about a year now, and we literally have the same studio space. So he's on the side of me while I'm painting, and I'm on the side of him, and it's crazy to see how our work has ended up like being it's ended up becoming something that's able to intertwine with each other. And while working on the collaboration, we saw how everything just smooth process and everything. And like he was saying, like hanging out with somebody, being around somebody, getting to know them and stuff like that allows everything else to move like butter.
Yeah,
What was
it's like
the end
chemistry.
product that you guys created? Like, what was the end piece?
All right, so the piece was called As Soft as a Wolf.
As soft as a wolf.
As soft as a wolf, as tough as a lamb. So
Tough as a lamb.
it really we were trying to we were working in this idea of masculinity and how men have this duality to themselves also, and they could either be very quiet, very isolated, or just very calm, and they also have like destructive power. So we was working on that idea. So the piece itself depicts two men side to side, brothers side to side, with a lamb and a wolf by their sides, black figures in this I would say like grassy area with blue skies and everything. So yeah.
Wow, it sounds so dramatic, and
Yeah.
I almost want to see the piece. Do you
Might
play a
have
lot
a-
with light? Because if you're talking about using so much dark,
Yeah.
you must have a very good understanding of like light and dark or lighting.
Yeah, that's a great point because I would say the collaborative is part of it was very evident because Justin's paintings are a lot more bright and saturated and not always happy, but just like vibrant. And then Edion's can be like a little moodier, like the tones are. So they came together in a really, really interesting way. Like the background was a lot lighter and more like in Justin style, but the figures were very like almost like not ominous, but like they had a different vibe, and it's very interesting to see it like
Sounds
juxtaposed like
dramatic.
that. Yeah.
I want to see this painting.
And I think at the same time you might probably respect the colors, like the harmony of the colors. So it's like you don't have to tell me or tell you, right? Like this color looks really nice beside this one.
Yeah.
you know. So that confidence, when you know the whole the trust when you are with someone, you know what is doing, what's painting is
Right.
make the things easier.
The process kind of flowed where it was like anytime one of us got tired, we like, you go to the canvas. Then if I didn't know what to do in one corner, I'd be like, well, Edion, you take that corner.
Yeah,
and
like
then
you're
you just
better at
switch
hands,
down.
you're better at like grass. You're like,
Yeah.
it's just kind of like going back and forth that way.
Okay, was this a very large piece?
Yeah.
Was it very
It
big?
was 5
Okay.
feet by 4 feet, I believe.
think something like that.
So it was a good size, 5 by
Really
4
okay.
feet. Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
We need to get these pictures up, Liz, of these,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I put a time code so I know when already, so I'll just ask them.
Yes.
Yeah.
It should be interesting that you talk about these pieces, and I mean that we put these pieces on, for people to see while now that you're talking about it, is they will connect better, and well, it's great to know the yes, okay, yes, like how you guys start painting, like at what age you decide like oh, this is what I want to do, I want to become an artist. It was like you have family there, artists by your side, or you just watch a movie as I did and I get inspired. This is a joke.
So I would say for me, my story is that my mom was a painter. So I grew up watching her paint, watching her draw, just be excited about art. And from like a young age, I always tell this story because I kind of remember it as my first art piece.
Okay.
But
What was it?
I went in her bag to look for something to see how to draw. So I saw a book, and to my knowledge, it was a crayon. And I just
Oh.
started to draw. And
What
when
was it?
It was a passport and a lipstick.
Oh my god.
So I,
Passport and lipstick.
she wasn't happy, but after that, every other art piece she was happy for.
Oh my gosh, that's yeah,
So-
exactly. Wow. What color is the passport? I don't know. And then the color of the lipstick was obviously red.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to know.
It's this small paper, and I was so happy to show her. She just came from work. I was like, I just did a drawing. Do you want to see it? And she was like, yeah. And I came with my passport, and I watched her like bright smile just go like. So like after the scolding to not do it anymore,
Yeah.
she just like bought me a book and was like, you can,
Okay.
you don't have to do this. You could just, and then I would draw in my school books. I used to draw on exams, like any paper I could get.
God, that's so funny. Yeah. Like, just get distracted. Did you guys draw a lot on your textbooks and things
Yeah.
like that?
Yes.
Color the
Yeah,
O's and like the
100%.
all the things.
I think if you know those cultures where you see like a lot of like drawings in a textbook or on a desk.
Yes.
I contributed to at least every school I went to leave something.
What about you guys?
Yeah. What about you guys? How did you guys get into drawing or art? Let's say painting
So
specifically.
for me, so like I said, all right. So let me say, as a child, it was my mother. She was a jewelry designer, so she made sign jewelry in Nassau. And I
Gorgeous.
would help her sometimes with carving out the sign and what's not. But besides that, it was just creativity for me. I guess the light of creativity of creating things. So my mom, she would buy me certain things like clays and stuff like that, and be like, use this, use that, and then that's what I used. But then after a while, I stopped. I stopped for a very long time.
Awesome.
But then a few, it's been about 8 years now. Like I was telling him earlier, I was using art as a way to alleviate myself of stress and all these worries, burdens, and stuff like that.
Like therapeutic.
Yeah,
Getcha.
and from then it became just more than me trying to release myself. It became like me trying to show people what could be done, I guess you could say, or what I could do, if that makes any sense.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you used it. I see that. Like it became the way that you almost show your potential, or you gave people a way, like like show people a possibility or
Right,
like an
right,
idea.
right.
Yeah,
And
I
then
understand.
It just became a passion after, like literally
Okay.
a passion. Like you can't live without it no more.
Okay,
Yeah.
you mentioned that in your past, like it depended on the medium that your mom gave you. So
Mm-hmm.
like you've obviously had different experiences, or you've dabbled in different types of.
I have dabbled in
Yeah,
a lot,
so-
but that was way back. I
Okay.
worked with clay. I worked with wood carvings to an extent. Like I said, it's a very long time ago.
Cool,
so,
wood
yeah.
carvings?
Yeah, as a child, things were there. So
That's amazing.
I use
That's
all, like
cool.
whatever she gave me, I'll use it. So that's how it was. But then I'm really settled with painting now. I plan on moving forward because, like I said, my mother's a jewelry designer, and she has a lot of techniques that
Cool.
is a lot of techniques that she have. I'm about to take some of those techniques and do something else. Yeah, if that
That's
makes any
cool,
sense. Yeah,
okay.
'cause, yeah.
You mean combine jewelry design or jewelry smelting with
I would,
art,
I
like
would
with
say the
painting?
things she did with the jewelry, she didn't smelt anything like that, but she taught me how to crochet copper wire. She taught me how to hammer copper and stuff like that. So I'm about
Oh
to
my
use a few things like
God.
that. Yeah.
Nice,
Yeah.
like that's so awesome. Like manipulating hard
Right,
materials
right,
in
right. Yeah, she
fine
did a lot
art.
of that. A lot of that. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Does your mom inspire you? Like,
For my art,
Yeah.
I would say yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. While beginning, she was one of my biggest supporters
Okay.
because sometimes it isn't easy.
Oh my God. Do any of us have a perfect relationship with our mothers? You're
but-
lying.
But she's,
Okay.
but she's my biggest supporter, and
Yeah.
that's 100%. I appreciate her for that. 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how?
No, it's
Yeah.
gonna be my
Oh, I
turn.
just wanted to say, like, how did you? Who else gets inspired? Like, who are you guys' inspirations? Like, are you inspired by your parents? Like, for me, it was actually my mom who first started painting. She was a self-taught painter herself, and she was excellent in watercolor. I still remember this really vibrant seascape she did. Yeah, I'll never forget it. The way that she painted this nautilus made me obsessed with like the Fibonacci swirl. I'm still obsessed with it. Like it's still in a lot of my work. So she is someone who did give me these ideas. But she was always like, no, art is really risky. When you go into it, like it's not a profession that's going to guarantee you. Yeah, it takes so much bravery to jump into
Right.
the profession. So yeah, like who are you guys inspired by? Sorry.
It could be an artist, it could be a person.
I think right now my grandfather is inspiring a lot of my work, and he wasn't an artist per se, but he was a English and lit teacher, so I grew up reading a lot, and I think that was kind of my introduction to creativity and just like, so I'd write a lot as a kid, like a lot of poetry, like fiction, stuff like that, and I think that's where I realized I had the urge to create, or like the urge to get some things out, and that just kind of led me into all of the other things. So I'm a pretty young painter. I started in the pandemic. I kind of self-taught, just figured it out, and it's going well, so that's good. But yeah, I don't have the same, I guess, background of like the artsy people in the family. I'm kind of the first one, and it's definitely making my family nervous, but
Are you guys are full-time artists?
Justin is. Me and Edion do other things, so I do a lot of work in gallery spaces. So I am.
You have a side job.
Yeah, I do curation and art install.
So it is, well, it kind of
Yeah.
ties everything. Like
Yeah.
you are in the same. Well, basically, you say like you live out of art, you know, and it that becoming a artist, professional artist, and trying to make a career with that is it was difficult for you. It was easier for you. How it was like? I guess everyone know that it's difficult to live as an artist, but not everyone have the same experience. I wanna ask you how you became like artist at this point, and how you managed to get there.
All right, so at least I would say, based on my own experience, so it was a lot of isolation in the beginning. I wouldn't say isolation. I was by myself a lot in the beginning, just trying to get to know people, trying to communicate, network and connect with individuals. Um, but then it's about 3 years ago. So our Central Bank of the Bahamas, they have a lot of uh,
Like art
their
programming, yeah.
archive basically, and they have competitions every year. So I end up placing in one of the competitions, and after that, I was able to people were able to better understand my artwork, I would say, and I was able to connect with people better because I had something to point them to. It wasn't just like, oh, I make art, because when people hear you make art or you create, sometimes they don't look at it in the most pleasant light, I would
There's
say.
a stigma.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with having that slight backing, it was like, okay, so you have work here. Then afterwards, I was able to find people to buy more artwork. I was able to get more artwork in the Central Bank. I
That
was able to
sounds like
get-
an amazing opportunity you
Yeah.
got.
So
Yeah.
would you say in Bahamas the culture, do you find it more easier for art? Are they more inclined towards artists now?
You could talk about this.
Do you think the country facilitates you guys as being artists?
I think it is improving every year that passes. I don't know if it's like 100% ideal yet, but I think that we've definitely made a lot of bounds. So we do have like cultural institutions that support it directly. We have like the central bank, as he said, that does this open call every year, and anybody can enter. There are different categories like film, video, animation, painting, like all of that, and it's like a cash prize if you win, but they also like display your work. That's a great opportunity. We've had like a couple programs like that, and then we have spaces like ICE, the space that we work in, that kind of do residencies. A couple galleries do residencies, so you
current.
can
Wow,
be
okay.
introduced to like the art world in that way. We have emerging artist spaces, so they're a little less like, I guess,
So
high
there are
end, but
quite a
it's
lot
a
of
great-
opportunities out there in the
If you-
Bahamas if you're an emerging artist.
yeah, if you look and network and know where to go. But
Yeah.
we're also a very communal space, art space. So the way I learned a lot of things was through people like reaching back and teaching me. So
Yeah.
like, there was a lot of mentorship, a lot of like just
Okay.
community in terms of growing that. So if you're like interested and like have a good attitude and just are ready to jump in and go, then there are people that'll help you.
Okay. And who would you say, when you first started painting, who would you say was really supportive of you in terms of like your family or in terms of your professional life? Like, was it a teacher? Was it, your family? Was it your friends? Yeah.
I met this artist called Keith Thompson, brilliant guy.
Okay.
But he does these super hyper realistic acrylic. Like I need to show you guys a picture of this after
Oh
this.
wow. Okay.
But, and I
Amazing
met him
skills.
through when I was mostly doing photography at the time, so I was doing a shoot with him, and I asked him to look at some of the paintings I was working on. This is in like the earlier stages of all the stuff I was doing, and he ended up going back with me to ICE, and we worked in the same studio for a bit. He showed me just all like the technical things that one would need to know, I guess, to start. So
Okay.
he's a big person for me. There's another artist named Jody Minnis who's just like brilliant in terms of curation and art making, all of these things. Like I would say my career is kind of modeled after hers as well. And she's
So cool.
the sweetest person ever. Like I have any questions, she's there. She'll like
You learn
confidential
so
with
much, and you have
Yeah.
such a good relationship with your mentors.
Definitely.
That's
And-
so important. Oh wow.
oh, they're
Okay.
great.
And how about you guys? Do you also have mentors that are similar? I mean, you said that you really trusted Reagan, like she's been a really good collaborator. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would say there's been stages. I feel like I've always been supported in my art career through my family.
Okay.
Because my mom, they watched my mom, she's been painting from 12. So when I
Wow.
did it and my Grammy saw me, she would be like, okay, yeah, you can do these things, you can. And then I'd go to school. I had a supportive art teacher. I left and I met other artists, just like Reagan met Keith. Another artist named Navarro Newton, amazing artist. He like very creative, could sing, make music,
Okay,
like
cool.
paints.
Oh,
He's like
wow.
multi-talented.
Okay.
And another artist, the three artists, I would say would be like Keith Thompson, Navarro Newton, Anaway Harris Smith.
Anaway Harris
So,
Smith, Keith Thompson.
I was in college
Okay.
and I was just obsessed with like how they transformed like how I viewed art, because they would just try
Excellent.
things and it would be, they'd put it on the wall and be like, oh, talk about the work, and it's like I didn't see or didn't know like this could happen. So I think like my peers have always been like things that helped support me and like help me to learn like
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
You-
So all these
Expression.
people aren't very much older than us either. They're like maybe 4 or 5 years. Like it's not that much of a gap, but there's just a sense of community that happens. And
Yeah.
it's super cool.
Oh, I love that. Like when you get the same, you're on the same wavelength or the same page. You can have different discussions, or you guys just like have a good trust. Like I think I felt like Carlos, you were kind of my mentor here. Like I felt like you pushed me, or you saw like my art in a certain way, and that gave me that confidence. So I feel like also like it's important to have that trust in like the people that like the fellow art community that you're around.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's great that you have fostered that with one another. Like that's really cool. You guys also mentioned something about music and lyric or like writing. So is that a really big part of your art as well? Like aside from just visual art?
yeah,
Yeah.
I need music to sometimes just clear the space,
Yeah.
because I do feel like artists overthink or like have a lot of things going on in their head, and I'm someone who
A lot.
if I see something in a painting I'm not vibing with,
Just paint over it.
I'll do it.
So
I have no problem starting.
So
with
like after you spend hours on the detail and
Yep.
you're like it's perfect and you're like no.
I'll like walk
Yeah.
in there and then leave for an hour and go paint and come back and it's a completely different painting. You'll just like paint over like the
it's frustrating sometimes, to be honest.
We'll
because
just look
you
back
have
and
this
it's gone.
masterpiece just there. He spent, I would say, 2-3 weeks working on it,
just be like, nah, I don't like it anymore.
and then he's like, you know what? Prime over.
If
Or
I
let me put
walk
some
around the corner and it
Sometimes I
doesn't
hide
look
them
good.
from him. I'm like, I need this now. It's done.
Hey, you're having a tantrum. Just like destroy this one, not this one.
For sure.
Yeah, does that happen sometimes? Sometimes you have to stop each other, like, hey, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah, it happens sometimes.
And it's great to work in a studio space with so many other artists that can like view things in a different way. So I'm like, I hate this, and they're like, what are you talking about? This is.
Or maybe,
And then you have
maybe
those
that's
moments.
just the way that you know that your piece is really good when you have your friends like, hey, hold on, don't. And they were like, okay, that's the good
I'm
one.
testing you.
I wanna know like if you guys are here in the island, in the Cayman Islands, just as a vacation trip, or you guys are here for some artistic projects or something that you are working on.
So I came during Cayman Art Week. That was my first time in Cayman, and I just noticed so many similarities between like Bahamian works and the Caymanian works, and just like some, I guess, like diasporic connections that I was seeing. And I wanted to bring these guys back to see if I was seeing the right things. I was like, this can't be, like, we have certain artists that are so similar, and I was just kind of like amazed by it. And I love how booming and like vibrant the Cayman art scene is, how much like diversity there is here. And I just felt like it would be a good trip for us to come over and really like all take it in together and then go back home. But we do work with Donovan Kellyman with
Oh,
he had
okay.
Parcel 110. Now he's rebranded to Wide
So,
Awake.
so you do projects with him?
Mhm.
Okay, related with art.
Yeah. So I hung his last the Wide Awake exhibition for Cayman Art Week. That's how I ended up here. But I got to move around and see a lot of the galleries as well. So that was super cool. And now we're trying to figure out some sort of, I guess, exchange, residency sort of thing, like what we can make happen in terms of just.
How long are
furthering
you
those
gonna be here in the
connections.
island?
Until next Friday.
Next
So
Friday.
about a week, yeah.
You have projects going on over there, like events and stuff like that.
Yeah. After we get back, yeah, it will be,
A lot
Right
of
back
work.
to work.
it's gonna be a handful. Yeah.
Back to another reality over there.
This is a little-
Well, I guess you have to enjoy just the
Right.
today
It's been so fun
and now.
being here.
It's been fun being here.
Yes.
Yeah, what have you guys seen?
Sorry.
What do you see so far?
So we went to the National Art Gallery, correct?
Yes.
We saw some. We
The
saw
Bendel Heights,
Right.
exhibition that's up.
Right, we saw some work by him. I'm not gonna lie, those are amazing pieces.
They're
Yeah, you
beautiful.
like the
I
Caymanian
I
art?
really love that.
Yeah.
I really
That's
love
awesome.
those.
And then they had some of the national collection upstairs again. It's like amazing, and
Yeah.
that was super super cool to see. And then of course we came here. I had to bring them here because last time it was like, this is one of the coolest galleries I've ever seen.
Oh
Like,
wow, you
I
really
loved
like
it
this
here,
gallery
yeah.
during Cayman Art Week?
Mhm,
Okay,
so-
how is this gallery different? Like,
I think we don't have as much more of that like expressive, like experimental stuff going on at home. So it's very cool to come here and see it
nice.
happening and like done so well, and just like that. It's almost like it's like a street sort of vibe, like a more urban, like expressive feel. Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
And
yeah.
I think it's sometimes difficult for us at home to come outside of the box of like,
Tourism.
yeah.
So do you
Yeah.
say you guys get pushed more towards traditional type of painting?
Yeah,
Caribbean type
exactly.
painting?
We do, but we're definitely pushing back.
Okay, so you like, because you guys are fairly young. Like I would say, you guys seem young. So you're like
Yeah.
kind of the future, I would say, of art or that kind of thing. So where do you see it? Do you also see it taking a kind of a route towards more like urban style, towards kind of
Yeah.
branching out, pushing that boundary? Do you also find that how to what extent do you think you guys might push that boundary, like as like art takes, like you guys take art in a new direction, perhaps? Yeah.
So I love the boundary pushing. I think
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been using my curatorial practice because I have that, I guess, access to bring certain people together and give them the freedom to kind of make what they
Love
want
it.
and have certain conversations that they want to have. I've just been
Okay.
like kind of maybe upsetting a few people back home. It's a whole lot of fun, and I think
Yeah.
some of it is urban work, some of it is like Edion is playing a lot in that like Renaissance-y, like Gothic style.
Love.
You're just seeing like people being more honest and authentic and making work in like the
Wow.
style that
I'm
they
so
would like to make it
curious.
in. And I think that's the direction that we're pushing it now, and it's really really cool to see.
Wow, Renaissance Gothic. Yeah, I mean, the amount, like, just, I'm so curious about playing with light, like chiaroscuro, all that. Like, it just sounds like you guys have such a different understanding, or you're bringing in a new, like, your modern take on it as well.
Right, yeah,
So,
so-
I love that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
So
wanna
yeah.
talk about-
I guess want to be clear with the Renaissance Gothic, because I don't want you to think of Renaissance and the Gothic. So I look at certain works and I just try to put it in my own perspective. That makes sense. Yeah.
It's still very
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, of course. Yeah, yeah, I understand.
It's kind of like a Renaissance meets the Bahamas, kind of.
Yes, I mean, so as someone who I've only been on island for about 2.5 years, so as myself, like I've come on island and I've incorporated my own
Right.
style from like being raised in Asia. I added my own kind of balances of
Right.
like the waves that I have a lot of like the great wave, like finger
Right.
curl, that type of style. So I totally understand. Like I'm not saying like I think it's so cool that you're taking inspiration from that.
Yeah.
Like a lot of artists do that. Even artists from like the past did that a lot. Okay, like you have to push boundaries. Like impressionism, right? You guys like you talked
Right.
about that, Carlos. That impressionist art first was not so well received because it wasn't
Right.
detailed, and it was about stepping back and seeing that giant
Right.
piece. Yeah, and
And that's
yeah. Okay.
That was
Go ahead.
that was the moment that everything changed. Like people start understanding art from in a different way,
Right.
not necessarily only in the academic part of being so
Technicalities.
detailed, so
Yeah.
perfect. That all the Renaissance and the Barocco, bro, and with this wave, artists like Van Gogh came up, or Monet, or
Right.
Manet, which are like one of my favorites artists. Like that part of me trying to try more like impressionist style come because of that, because of these type of artists, because I can imagine the struggle that they have, the frustration that they have, but nothing of that stop them for becoming or making stopping pain, whatever they feel, whatever they want. And at the end, if you see now in modern times, it's like the influence of these impressionists is still going on here in the very contemporary art that we are doing now. People love to
sure
see
is.
the strokes of the brush or a lot of texture.
It created a new genre, right?
Right.
So like that's what's so cool about art is that when at first it's not so well received, but then you have created a whole new field, right? That's a lot that happens in a lot of even in different types of art. I'm not talking just fine art, but like
Yeah.
music, right? And like dance, right? It's all these things. It's about
It's almost like our
And I-
job to
and
show
I
people
wanna
what
say
they want to see. You know?
And I want to say something about it, like the irony of, knowing that the Impressionists were criticized because of they don't have that technique of blending colors to make the piece realistic and neat and clean. But now, if you think about it, like try to do Impressionists now, you have to be a master,
Right.
basically.
Yeah. I
You have to.
couldn't.
You have to be a master, basically. You have to mine all the skills.
Yeah, it's,
You know?
it's a lot that goes into it.
Especially if you are the generation of artists that we just thought that super realistic is the best. You know what I'm saying? Like we grow saying like, oh, you are a better artist because you
Good draw.
you draw like super realistic, and I was into like them. Like I was
Yeah.
when I started, I did a lot of portraits. I still do a lot of portraits,
Right.
but I don't go anymore into the realistic because I was just like people always are on top of me saying like you have to make it realistic, you have to make it realistic, and I was like that stopped me from being experience freedom because I want what if I just want to throw a paint, I don't want to just clean it and make it looks like it really neat. So I just understood that it wasn't about the skills at some point, it was about what you have to say with those skills. Using your skills to create something that impact in a different way in people's eyes is different. Is for me is what's more important. It was teach, and that was taught by some old people that I met. They were masters in that. They were retired already, but they were able to tell me, Carlos, I don't, because I remember that showing these amazing, super realistic painting of this portrait, and I thought he will say like, oh wow, Carlos, he was like,
Nice copy or something like that.
no, he was like, what? You're supposed to know how to draw a face. What? But what? What did he say?
Yeah.
It doesn't
Like,
say
what's the
anything.
point?
Yeah. Yeah,
For
because-
me, it doesn't say anything. And then at the you don't have to teach. I mean, you don't have to show people that you can draw, that you can do the realistic or whatever. You just with your skills create something and make an impact in society through that. And then those words resonate in my brain. I stuck it in my brain, and I was like, wow, this is the best lesson I ever received. As a self-taught artist. And since then, I try to move that way with my art. And I think it can be applied for all the the styles of technique of artists, they can do it. They can apply that type of concept of make people connect through something that you put there in a particular way to look and impact in that direction that you want, that you feel, So at some point it has to be a little bit. I always say this: you have to be a little bit smarter to paint something,
Yeah.
not only throw. Yeah, because what happened in this now at this point, people think that art is just whatever,
Right.
and I don't share that. I might probably have haters too that are gonna say, Carlos, but I don't share that. Or at least that's a different type of artist, unless they qualify the artist in different ways. Because for me, being artist is a big responsibility,
Yeah.
and
for
in the
sure.
sense of you can impact in people's mind in a way, they can do things or move things or feel in a certain way.
Do you guys feel like that? Like you guys are like examples or role models as artists? Like, what do you think? Because at some point, as an artist, I think it's inevitable that you will be recognized in some way,
Right.
right? You might get some extent of exposure, right? So, do you think that there is that? Like, is there a sense of responsibility as an artist? Yeah.
I'd agree with
Yeah.
that as a sentiment, because I do believe that artists are the people who form cultures, are the people who give
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
a conversation
said.
to how we engage with each other on a world scale. And even ways where I might feel one way about my art, someone might look at my art and be like, oh, well, I feel so deeply about this because this represents something to me.
Yeah.
And sometimes where I'm just like, oh, well, I just thought of the idea and I felt like this was something that was like on my head that I wanted to. I've had someone see a painting and start crying to me, and they were like,
Yeah.
well,
Wow.
this kind of like represents something that I'm going through right now. And those conversations are important because
beautiful, yeah.
you get to see something and you get to like be like, oh, well, someone understands me.
Right.
Wow,
They-
that's so cool.
And at some
Okay.
point they admire. It feels good as an artist that you know that they love so much your thought
Yes.
that they don't mind to spend whatever to have that thought and hang it in the wall.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's our big compliment as an artist. I really believe,
Yes.
rather than the money, which is important, but the true artist, I think, experience the happiness, and you see this client going happy, feeling like that way. Like you say, some of them cry. Some of them feels really emotional. Some of them even reminds them their mother or
Yes.
son or whatever. And then since we know that thing, we have to be also at some point careful what we deliver in the artwork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it can be really impactful. Or at least if you wanna, like pour in a positive way to the community,
Yes.
because we have time to do that. Also, we can support community doing things, but they know that they will love it. They will,
Yes.
Right.
be good for society, community, and then that inside you when you paint something that is meant to be with for particular area, and we just don't say it. We just paint because it's something that is with us. But at the same time is we knowing that our word or our artwork is powerful at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It is nice to have that. I think a lot of our artwork says something about how we want others to see our perspective,
Yes.
right? And when you mention that someone sees your work and then gets so moved that they cry, that emotion that you can evoke, that's like sometimes it's not like it's just someone responding to your
Yes.
your art that way makes you go, that is the reason why I paint, right? And I think that's so great, like when art is that fulfilling for you. Like I guess for you guys, how about you all? How's
I agree.
Yeah.
I think what actually got me into fine art or like painting
Yeah.
was my first art history class in college. So like art, you mentioned like impressionism is like almost a direct response to what's happening in the world. So like the camera just got invented. We didn't have to paint super realistically anymore. Now we have to play and experiment, and like the surrealist movement came out of like
Okay.
World War II. They were just sick of living in that space, so they're like, let's start like doing LSD and painting whatever comes to our head.
Gotcha.
And it's like these almost like direct responses to like the culture and the things happening around us. And I think in that way that we're responsible for almost like documenting history as it's happening and like these
Totally.
different movements.
Okay.
So I
Recently-
think
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
I think like on an individual basis we get to touch and affect a lot of people, but also on like a macro scale we're like kind of making history in a cool way.
Recently, I got one of my pieces selected to for a big auction the National Gallery is doing the next month, and I paint this artwork thinking about is the proper painting to be put it into this auction and make people purchase this because it's the type of artwork that like you were explaining now that you have to be aware of what is around and you are the one who had to documentate what is happening in real time. And I took this picture of it's a old picture of caveman from the late 60s or 50s, and I put it into a very colorful, like a juxtaposition two paintings. Like I create like a wall, which is the wall is colorful and
think
it
we
has
might
a
have saw
hole
that,
in the middle,
right?
like
Yeah.
it's something that it breaks, and then you see inside it this vintage picture of this horse and this,
It's really nice.
like
I
a
remember
car.
that.
Yeah, and
It's
then
your signature and
from
history as well. Yeah.
Yes, and for me, that's like I see this artwork as a